All right, Survivor Indianapolis, Advantage Island, episode 2 is over, and we are here to talk about it. Again, the host, David Cole, my friend Alex Golden here, editor of episode 1 and editor of a lot of the season alongside myself. But episode 2, Bailey's vote out. Let's talk about the episode. Let's start off with the challenge. So, this was again, a twist on an old challenge, and we used paper towel rods that you got us through your work that were like a little bit more heavy duty,
Yeah.
basically, right? So, not like your standard paper towel
Yeah.
rules. And tennis balls this time instead of ping pong balls. In the past, we've used ping pong balls for this, and it just wasn't quite the right size and shape, and the handles weren't quite the right strength and that kind of thing. So I felt like this worked a good bit better. I do think that it was almost in some ways too easy to kind of not cheat, but like cheese it. I can explain what I mean by that, I guess. Like in the beginning, a lot of tribes were taking, so like one person would hold the rod with the tennis ball at the end of it, and the other their tribe mate would just put their rod on top of the ball from the other angle. And so it was like they are on it, they're following the rules, but they're not really balancing the ball between them. The ball is firmly in the first person's, rod.
Yeah.
And so with that, it makes it a little bit easier. Now we still had people have a hard time doing it. So I wouldn't say it was like way too easy, but that wasn't exactly my intention. What were your thoughts though overall? I have a couple more things to say, but I want to bring you in. What were your thoughts on the challenge?
No, I thought it was a really fun challenge, and I do like
Yeah,
that we did change things up a little bit. Obviously, the tennis balls a little bit harder to kind of balance in between two of the paper towel rolls because these are a little bit smaller than your
yeah,
normal towel roll too. So there's a bigger ball in between these two paper towel rolls, and so you're trying to hold it. And how we had originally done it when we had tested out these challenges was to have kind of one person in the front with it kind of to their side, and the next person like you're balancing it together. Very difficult, but it's possible to do. As we saw in this game, both tribes were able to figure it out, but very difficult to do. And you saw how a smaller group like Mason and Sonya had a little bit more success than two bigger guys like
yeah,
Chris and Seth. And unfortunately, we didn't get the Siakam footage of
yeah,
this challenge. It was just Sheboy's side of things until we get to the puzzle for some camera difficulties and issues that we had there, some technical
yeah,
difficulties. But
yeah.
this was a back and forth challenge. I think Sheboy ended up getting out to an early lead, crossing the balance beams faster, just a little bit. And I think once Seth and Chris figured it out, Mason and Sonya were able to kind of carry that team to that early lead. And there
They
was only
made like
three tennis
one.
balls.
Yeah, it was going to be four, I think, originally, and it was
Mhm.
taking so much time that we ended up cutting it down to three in the middle
Yeah.
of it. That's why at the end you hear me saying like over and over, like editing the stuff, you get so annoyed at yourself. You're like, why did I say that like six times? That's why I kept saying either one of the pairs, and I didn't say pairs because I was like in the heat of the moment. I said either one of the groups or something like that, and I didn't use the right word. But what I'm trying to say was either one of the two pairs for your tribe can do the last ball
Yeah.
because we had cut it from four to three. Originally, it would have been both pairs
Yeah.
doing two balls each. And so when I cut it to three, I was like, I just wanted to clarify that like if either group wanted to do it, and Chris was like, "Well, they're doing it right now." I was like, "Yes, I know, but like if they fall, you can do it." I just wanted
Yeah.
to like clarify the rules there. Um,
But
and
we
like
did have we
why I had that conversation was that we cut it from four to three.
and those three tennis balls did have numbers on them. And
Yes.
so you had to, take them to the table with the lockbox, and then the two people that were down there to solve the puzzle had to crack the combination with the tennis balls. And I believe Moretta and Cameron got it on the very first
They
try.
got it the first guess. They got it so
So
quick.
so
Yeah,
that
so they
really helped them get out to a
mhm.
lead. But I think it was Drew and Annie who were on the puzzle for Siakam, and they caught up pretty quick though. They were really on their tails
Yeah.
and really trying to make this a challenge. And I'm like, man, once again, we're having yet another close challenge. But I
Hmm.
love the side by sides. So you kind of see them going head to head against each other. It
Hmm.
just kind of made it feel more dramatic. It's like, oh, who's gonna finish first? I didn't know. But Moretta, once again, with her confident spirit, goes, I'm done.
Yeah.
And like
I'm
she
done.
makes sure that David knows that she has won this challenge for her tribe, giving Sheba
Yeah.
their first victory. And we saw a much happier Henderson in this episode than we saw in the previous one. We didn't hear anybody getting claimed for being a cheater or
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
like that. But if you see the opening trailer, you do know that there is a moment where Chris is going to be throwing his sunglasses. That's going to come in the
yeah.
future. It wasn't this episode though,
Angry
as
Chris
they
is
were
coming
able
back
to
eventually.
as they were able to pull it out. But I felt like this was a very fun challenge. It was just one of those things where I would have loved to have seen a little bit of Siakam and how they
Sure.
did and what strategy they went with. But you could see like different strategies work for different people, and I think that the different sizes made it more challenging. But I don't. I think Mason and Sonya were the right group to go together just because they're about the
Hmm.
same height. If you would have had Mason and Chris or Mason and Seth, I think that while you might have had a more athletic duo, it would have been more difficult to try to balance it because of weight, shoe size, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll give you some credit there. That side by side, it was an editing addition that you made. So, you
I'm not
know,
trying to toot my own horn, but I did enjoy
I will, I
that
will toot
aspect
your
of it.
horn.
It just made it more like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen here? Because
Yeah,
I honestly didn't know at first like how this was all going to play out because we saw the video footage a little bit of Moretta and Cameron quite a bit ahead, but they really got off to a slow start with their
they got to
puzzle.
a really slow start. So that was what I was going to say also is like part of it is I mean, we edit it to make it try to look closer than what it well to make it look as close as we can. We want this to be an entertaining product, but I don't want to like I'm not like trying to manipulate and lie to the people watching this. Like, but we did cut out a chunk of time, or I don't know if we ended up just speeding it up, but like Moretta and Cameron overall had a lot more, like a few minutes more with the puzzle
Yeah.
than because not only did they get to the puzzle much faster. I think you can hear. I think my audio is uncut, and so you can hear me say like you can see me and hear me tell Moretta and Cameron to turn around, and I tell Sonya and Mason to go back to the starting line, and then you can hear me like a couple minutes later say like turn around, turn around, turn around, and I'm saying that to Siakam, to Drew and Annie, who's helping
Drew
Drew.
Annie.
You can hear me say it to them. It's like if you go back and like look for that in the time, you can see how much time they had, and I think over that you see like a sped up Moretta, and I guess it's the timing has been sped up for Moretta and Cameron, and like they really did not make much progress, and they got a good learning curve, like a good amount of time to help kind of figure things out on the puzzle that I don't think they would have won if they had started at the same time, if I'm being honest. And then also, so on top of the extra start, Drew and Annie did not get the lockbox on the first guess like
Yeah.
Moretta did. So there's a couple different reasons why they ended up with having. And also, I did at the end say it was only one piece that was left. And that was true. It was one piece, but I'm pretty sure that like Drew and Annie either added one or two pieces after I called it. They were just like finishing the puzzle. So I go over there and look at it. I was like, oh, they only have one piece left. But if you watch the side by side, it's like two or three once. Like when Moretta puts her last piece in, there's
Yeah.
still two or three, maybe even four pieces left. But that's still
Yeah.
really, really close.
Yeah.
But not quite as close as I thought it was. I was like, wow, that was insane.
Well, and you're trying to look over two people's shoulders as they're working on a
Sure.
small table, so you probably may have missed a piece when you were looking. Like
Maybe,
it
yeah.
just happens. But you're
Sure.
right. I mean, they caught up. They made it a bit of a stressful challenge here, but this gave Sheboy the victory, which keeps them from losing another tribe member, going down
Yeah.
7-5 to Siakam, and then they have the ability now to send somebody to
Yeah.
Advantage Island, and they get to pick somebody from Siakam this time. So now we got the tables flipped here, and we're gonna see things shake out a little bit differently because I was kind of curious how they were going to go about sending their people and whatnot because it looked like okay, Anna got voted off next time. Are they thinking in their head, oh, if we send somebody we don't like from that tribe or someone we think that could be a big threat, do we send them to Advantage Island to try to make their tribe weaker? But I don't think that's how they ended up doing it. I feel like they were trying to maybe set themselves up to win the challenge out there.
I would agree. I think that, and again, I don't know, but I would assume that based off of who they picked and who they picked for themselves, I think that they were trying to win an advantage
Hmm.
because they knew from Drew that the first Advantage Island challenge was a puzzle, number-based puzzle, and Moretta had just crushed the puzzle, and they sent Moretta,
Yeah.
and then they sent Bailey, and not that Bailey, I think they probably underestimated Bailey, but they also, if you're gonna pick off from that tribe who you think is great at puzzles, you're probably gonna avoid like Chris, You're gonna avoid, or that's the wrong group.
Neil, Neil,
You're gonna avoid Neil. You're
Leah.
gonna avoid, if there's people where you're like, oh, I definitely should not pick that person, because they're probably gonna be really good at puzzles. So
Yeah.
there's a couple of obvious like people that you would assume would be good at puzzles based off of what they know of those people, and Bailey just wouldn't be one of them, I don't think. But I think they underestimated her. Obviously, I mean she wins, but
Yeah.
it was interesting. I think your main point though is that it was absolutely a missed opportunity to put a target on someone's back,
Mhm. Yeah,
like
that's
Mason.
where I would have been like, you know what, like because we'll get there in a little bit, but like Advantage Island at this point, that takes that person away from strategizing.
Yeah,
And if you're trying to make someone try weaker, you would think, oh, let me pull one of our stronger players. Maybe I
I
can
mean
pull
put
Drew
Drew out
away.
there. I mean
And
put
Drew
Neil out
just won an
there.
advantage out there. He's got a target on his back now. They all know that he has this idol. He tells everybody. And now they
Yeah,
don't know that he told everybody, but they know that he won. So they know that he has something.
something.
And
Yeah,
Anna told him that he won. So they
yeah,
obviously know she didn't win anything, or if she did, she didn't play it at tribal council. You know, like
yeah.
you mentioned last episode, Sonya's patting her on the back saying, hey, you didn't lie. Great
You
job,
didn't
you
lie
know?
to us. Good job.
Yeah. So, you potentially take Drew out there, but then again, if you're trying to get the advantage for your tribe, Drew just almost beat you in a puzzle when he was down, and he won a logic puzzle in the previous one. So
Hmm.
Drew could have beaten her at Advantage Island, got another advantage, and then really set that tribe up potentially moving forward. But they go Bailey, and I think we got to talk about Advantage Island because this was a very fun challenge, and this is one that we did in the previous season before, I believe. That
Yes.
the stacking of the tier puzzles, and I forget
Yeah.
is that how you call it? Is that what you call it?
I mean, it's a tier stacking. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
sure, that's probably the best. There probably is a actual name for it in Survivor
yeah,
lore. I just don't. I mean, I know a few different names of a few different challenges, like Last Gasp and stuff like that, but I don't
yeah,
remember that one.
yeah.
So yes, my wife Stacy constructed that on her own, paint and
Beautiful.
made it. It looks really good, and
Yeah.
it works pretty well. And it worked really well last season, and it worked really well this season. I think that like being out where we were at Advantage Island, the tables were not perfectly
No,
level,
I was gonna bring that up.
but I don't think being out there and having seen it, like I don't think it was the reason why why Meredith fell, but it definitely made it harder on her. And
Yeah,
we cut around this, but I definitely like moved her table after it fell to like readjust it and make it more level. And then I also picked up a couple of pieces off the ground, and I did it for Bailey too. So I was like, well, I should do it for Bailey too. So because Bailey also dropped a couple pieces, but she dropped like while she was putting the first layer up, not
yeah,
while. So she only lost a few pieces, like maybe 5 or 6. And so I walked around and made sure that both tables were as level as they could be in the middle of a challenge. I picked up dropped pieces for both players and just trying to like because I don't want to have it. I don't want to have a feel bad moment where it's like, and I appreciate that neither one of these players um, they had the opportunity to feel bad. Moretta,
yeah,
she says, you know, it was user error. I dropped it, and I don't know. I think she would probably say that she believes that she would win if she hadn't dropped it, which she had a good reason to feel that way. Bailey even said she would. Bailey said Moretta would have won, but she dropped her stack. So like
yeah.
but I think that it was a very well made challenge that I'm glad that we were able to reuse this season, and I
Mhm.
would be down to reuse it as a part of a challenge somewhere down the line too.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the table thing just real quick because
Hmm.
Moretta bumped the table. That was more
Yeah,
so the problem. It wasn't that she hit her puzzle. She bumped the table, and it was a
yeah,
little bit wobbly. But if you look at both tables, they were both wobbly. So
yeah.
it
Neither one of them
wasn't
were
like,
perfect.
yeah, it wasn't like Moretta's table was more wobbly than Bailey's. It just they were both on a little bit of an uneven ground out there. So it made it difficult. But at the same time, I was really impressed with how quick Bailey adapted after getting off to a little bit of a slow start. Once she figured it
A
out,
pretty
she
slow start.
zoomed through that puzzle. I thought Moretta was going to come back and end up winning it still, just
And
because
Brenda
of
was
how
pretty close
she
to coming
was.
back, but
But I will say I want to give Bailey some credit here because
for
she
sure.
went through that fast, and I feel like for if you watch the first episode and then this episode, you kind of see where Bailey kind of undersells herself a little bit.
Hmm.
And I feel like if she were to ever play this game again, if she came back out and was a little bit stronger with her personality. I don't think that's in her nature, but I think
No,
that
it's not.
as a team player, she could definitely be more impactful than she kind of set herself up to be. And you could kind of even tell in her confessional after she won, she was almost like a, yeah, I got this advantage. I think was it the steal a vote or the extra vote?
Still a vote.
So she gets to steal a vote, and you could tell she really didn't know what that meant. But we were like, if you have questions, you can ask any of us, like, hey, what does
Mhm.
this advantage mean? How can I play it? That kind of thing.
And you
And
have you have the paper that has all the
yes,
different rules on the explanation of it right there.
yes.
So
And just if you want extra clarifications, what I'm trying to get
sure,
at here.
sure,
But
sure.
you could just kind of tell, like, Amaretta, she was a humble loser. I respected it a lot.
Hmm.
But, at this point, Bailey's tribe, Siakam, had been strategizing without her.
Hmm.
And this is where things kind of get ugly for Bailey because
Yeah.
she comes back and it seems like, you know what? She's good. It feels like there's going to be, like the episode title says, a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
And out of everybody on this tribe, I would have been stunned to see this player get voted out first for this tribe had this been the case.
But the thing is, we need to talk about just the Neil side of things for a moment first. I do think we need to focus on Bailey more because she's the person that got voted off. But Neil was not lying. At the end of the episode, I say, "Oh, you guys tricked me too, or you got me too, or I fell for it too," something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Because at that moment, I thought it had all been a big ruse. I thought it had all been this huge. That's why I said brutal at the end. Because I was like, I cannot believe that they did that to her. Because I
yeah,
thought, because my take on it was that they had just like concocted this scheme where they said like, oh, Neil's gonna just fall on the sword and take one for the team. We're gonna make it an easy vote, so we don't have to go like, backstab and plot and scheme, and we can just make it easy. I thought they had concocted all of that and just like this poor girl just like believed it and it was like over. And that's not exactly true. It is largely true. Well, not exactly true. Neil was sincere. Neil and I haven't talked to him exactly about this. I just think that like he at that point what it was just really excited to have this team thing, and it was this cool group of people that I'm here with. We're bonding. We won the first challenge. We had a good time. I just don't want to see any of them get voted off, so I'll take one for the team, and I'll just try to fight to get back in the returning player challenge. I think that I wonder if there was no option for returning, if he would still do that, and my gut says yes, he would, because
mhm,
he was like adamant about it. He was not. It was not a ruse by any means.
yeah. It was interesting because Neil, when you look at the tribes, he felt like one of the stronger players on this
Hmm.
tribe,
He
and he
was. He
is he
definitely
is
was.
definitely a leader. But I
Hmm.
think his leadership skills were kind of showcased there as I'll take one for the team. I don't need to be in this game right now. You guys can win without me, but if this is what's going to keep our tribe stronger, so there's not like this division between our
Division.
group, then I'll just be the sacrificial lamb. And it did kind of make you feel like, are they really about to vote him out? Like, is Bailey really gonna skate by the, you know, I don't know what the right word, like the what the
Skin of her teeth, or
yeah, I was gonna say that's like, does that sound right? I was like, but anyway, like she was just definitely like, is she gonna get by? And I wasn't sure how that was gonna work, but at the same time, you could kind of see Adrian and Leah were
hmm.
really
Yep.
connected. And I think
Yep.
these two were the masterminds behind doing this. And they were like, we're not getting rid of Neil right now. We want to
Hmm.
keep our tribe strong. And they see the threats that are on the other tribe too, because it's four guys and two girls. And if you get rid of another guy, now you're down to four girls, two guys on your tribe. And to me, I think that also played a big factor into why they picked Bailey over Neil, just because they were already short on the guy side of things and they wanted to make this more competitive. And I think at this point, the lack of confidence Bailey had in herself, I think really kind of showed them her true colors of, is she really the team player we want to build around or build with? And it was more so to me of a easier cut just because she didn't really show all of that she was capable of doing. And so that to
Hmm.
me made it easier for Adriana Lee to be like, yeah, let's kind of push the direction here. And I think Drew was pretty much in line with what anybody wanted to do. I don't think he was going to push or ruffle any feathers at this point either. I felt like it
Yeah.
was mostly just Leah and Adrian as well teaming
Yeah.
together, kind of controlling things, and Annie a little bit.
Yeah. It definitely in the end it feels like Leah number one and then Adrian number two. Um, yeah. So it's interesting that they went that route because you can also argue you have four women and three guys. You've just lost a challenge. You could take out like an Eli and maybe still win challenges. I mean, Drew and Neil almost by themselves won the first challenge,
Mhm.
and you could take out an Eli, and then you have control of the tribe. And if you want to cut Bailey the next rounder or somebody else, you could, but you also could just get rid of the guys and then go into the merge or a swap with a bunch of allies.
Hmm.
There's that argument to be made as well. So it is interesting how neither tribe went down gender lines um, off of their start, which is good because we were supposed to have 16, which means you'd
Hmm.
have 8 and 8 men and women, and we did not. We had 7 and 7 men and women, which is even in the overall game. But then obviously you can't, your tribes cannot be even
Yeah.
in terms of the gender split. So I was glad that it wasn't just like as easy as just like, oh, we have 4 girls, just put off the guy. But there is like strategic value in doing
Yeah.
that for either tribe, and so it was interesting that both the first 2 episodes they had the chance to do it. Neither one of them did that. I
And I
will
will say
say,
this,
yeah, go ahead.
just to cut you off, sorry.
No, you're
I
fine.
think that Leah and Adrian, if they were thinking more about building an alliance for the future of the game and like getting down further, Bailey was such an easy goat to bring with him in that tribe and
Yeah,
or in that alliance. I mean, and just say, hey, you know what? It's us four. Let's stick together. We'll be in this thing together till the end. And
yeah,
I think they would have said, "There's no chance Bailey wins. It's going to be one of us two. We can do this." But
yeah.
I don't think they were thinking that far ahead. They were just kind of
No, for
thinking
sure.
in the moment. But if you're a big time, and I know Leah likes Survivor, she's a big Survivor fan, so
Hmm.
she might have been thinking tribe strength at this point in her mind. But I think that Bailey would have been a great person to bring along,
Yeah,
just because you could have basically said, "Hey, Bailey, vote this way." She wouldn't have argued. She would have said, "Oh, okay, it's not me. All right, well, what are we doing? All right." She's a yes man. So I think that was somewhere they could have used her a little bit more. But at the same time, you had Neil basically saying, "Yeah, vote me off. I don't care. I'll be the sacrificial lamb." And it's just like that's not what's good for our tribe right now. So I understand why
yeah.
they did it. I don't really think they had a better choice than probably Bailey at this point. I think Eli probably would have been the second best choice, but even then, Eli, the youngest player in this game, brought a level of athleticism to their tribe that they
He did.
probably needed. And so I think getting rid of him this early would have been bad. Even though he is a professional dog lover,
Yeah.
it's hard to get rid of those players, but he might have been the guy to potentially cut.
Yeah, maybe you could argue make an argument for Annie. We'll see more of Annie coming up in the next few episodes, but
Mhm.
she's a little quieter in the edit for the first 2 episodes, along with Bailey, and a few other people too. I mean,
But
but
she was right there in that puzzle, and I think that's what kind of gave her a little bit of grace
it
because she
it
was
it
really
did.
good in the
Because
puzzle with
yeah,
Drew.
because Drew even says either in this episode or maybe some point later that she wasn't great at the beginning, and then once she kind of figured it out, the two of them were able to work together to almost catch up.
Yeah.
So it definitely did like make her seem like an asset in that way. And that's the thing. I think that both Anna and Bailey in these last 2 episodes fell victim to some similar situations where they're gone during some vital strategy time. They portrayed themselves as being weaker than they actually were, whether it was intentional or was a strategy or just was them being honest. They both came across as like even Bailey won a challenge and is like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like she seems very like, and I think it's just her being honest and her being kind of uncomfortable in a big group situation like that. She's not. I think I don't know this for a fact, but I would guess she would call herself an introvert.
Mhm.
And we had a couple people that were like unsure of how easy it would be for her to do the social game side of things. This is not it's not super easy for everybody. And I think that was probably difficult for her because that comes across when Eli is like she didn't seem interested. It's like well because she's an introvert. Like
Yeah.
like she maybe is interested, but she's not, coming across the same way that other people are. And on that tribe, you had a bunch of extroverts, and then Annie, who I don't know for sure if she's an introvert or an extrovert, but Annie had a couple of like relationships that she could rely on, and
Mhm.
Adrian and Leah, they have, not like super close connections, but there's some connections there for sure. So, whereas Bailey being younger, I think Bailey is younger than Eli.
Is she
Uh,
really? No, I think
Either
she's older
that
by a year.
maybe older by a year. Yeah, they're pretty close though. Either way,
She's youngest
um,
female.
she definitely is the youngest female. Yeah. So, but my point was, the connection there with Anna is that like both of them were gone, both of them downplayed their abilities, and then both of them. I think the difference was the reason why it was a absolute shutout for one, and it was a close vote for the other was Anna's more outgoing. Anna did a lot of legwork to go talk and socialize, and Bailey did not. Now
Mhm.
you could say, well, what could she have done? They told her it was all set and it was like, good to go. But Bailey even says in her exit after she gets voted off, I shouldn't have trusted them. I should not have trusted them, and
Yep.
I should have gone and talked. I should have. It may not have changed anything, but she definitely should have tried to have some one-on-ones with some other people. I would have been clocking like if I was her. Again, this is hindsight 2020 again, same with Anna, but I would have been clocking who were the first couple of people to tell me the plan and go talk to anybody else but those people.
Mhm.
Like I'm pretty sure it was Drew, and I'd be like, okay, don't talk to Drew. Let me go talk to like Adrian. You talk. The problem is Drew wasn't even the spearhead, but I think you just need to go talk to people. You need to go check in with people every round. Whether you think you're on the block or not. That's a huge part of the game. Getting that information and trying to build connections and make alliances. And if you just stand around in a circle like they wanted her to do, which again you could say like, well, she was a little bit hamstrung. Sure, I'm not trying to be overly critical
Yeah.
because she had plenty of reasons why she was voted off that were not totally her fault.
Yeah.
But this is a lesson. I think both her and Anna are lessons to anyone that wants to play in the future. Like the standing in a circle thing is not good for at
Yeah.
least one person.
Talk
So
to people.
talk to people.
Multiple people. Don't just talk to one person in a group or
Yeah.
10 people in a group, whatever. Go out, have individual conversations. And if you feel like you're getting weird vibes because she said I shouldn't have trusted him, which means she kind of knew something was up,
Hmm.
that's when you
She
throw a
had some weird vibes for sure. She knew something was going on.
that's when you throw a different name out there. You start doing that,
Hmm.
or you say, hey, I just went to Advantage Island and I won an idol,
An idol. I'm
Yeah.
playing it.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
just,
playing my idol.
I'm just gonna go ahead and play it. Like I don't want to have a target on my back. So I'm just gonna go ahead and play it. Like
Yeah.
just you play like it's no big deal. Like you're not like I'm not worried that it's gonna be me, but I'm gonna go ahead and play it anyways, just because whatever. The problem is in this situation, they would have all been okay with it because it
Yeah.
would be Neil, and
Yeah.
Neil was
But it would have
like,
saved her, which could have helped her out
well,
for the game. So I'm
no, it
speaking from
wouldn't.
a
It
relation.
wouldn't have saved her because she didn't have an idol.
Well, true, but I'm
So
saying if
that's
she
what
would
I'm
have said
saying.
that,
No, I'm,
if
I'm
she would have
saying if
said
she
that,
says that, they just say, oh, okay, okay, that's fine, and then they vote for her anyways and make her play the idol, and then
maybe,
she votes for Neil, and Neil goes home. You know what I
maybe.
mean?
Or Neil
Maybe,
just says, I'll be the sacrificial lamb because she has the idol, and let's save our idols for
yeah,
later when we can be a stronger tribe.
maybe.
So,
You definitely have to try something, which is what you're saying, and
yes,
I agree with you. But there is a little bit of like, well, she may have been, you know, up a creek without a paddle, anyways. So
you're right. You're right. I mean,
to some extent, there were some things that were
yeah,
going on that were not in her control.
yeah. I mean,
So
and it once again, she does have redemption because she could get back into this game with the returning players
returning player,
challenge. So she's not completely out of it, but maybe she sees how things went this first time. If she can get back into the game, she can learn from these mistakes. And so we'll see if she does. I know it's a 1 day event, but now that she's out and she's at quote unquote Ponderosa with Anna, they can at least chill and talk and kind of
sure.
say what happened, what's going on. Now she's getting more information about the
Hmm.
game with players that have been voted out because there's no limitations to what they can say to each other.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that we are good to send the conversation over to you all, the audience. Let us know what you think about the episode so far, how you liking it, thoughts on the strategy, thoughts on players getting voted off, anything and everything. Leave it in the comments below, and we will see you all next week.
All right, everybody, we'll see you.